Hi guys, welcome to XtraTalk. We have Ajax with us, we have Sahbi with us, and we have Rick. Good morning to you, Rick. It's early.
Morning, how are you?
Good, good. Good to have you. We have a couple of things to discuss. Basically, the most important thing to discuss is Lisandro Martinez. So we will go with that. Before we start with the questions about Martinez, this week we put out some questions, or we asked our followers and subs whether they had some questions they want us to discuss. And we have taken a couple of questions. We cannot do all of them because, as I said, we're going to talk about Lisandro Martinez. There are a couple of other questions which are very interesting, and one of them was our expectations for the Champions League. But we will hold that for now, and we'll talk about that in a few weeks when we know which players are still with Ajax and which players we got from the ones that left. So coming back, Rick, I want to start with you. Lisandro Martinez, paperwork is being finalized basically. Maybe by the time we upload this video tomorrow morning, it will be already done. We know the price between 50, 55 millions, including add-ons. Your general feeling about this transfer, about Lisandro Martinez leaving us? Go ahead.
Look. I think once the Arsenal bid came in, we pretty much had to just accept the fact that there was going to be some movement there, whether it happened now or in January. I'm pretty sure that the English clubs were pretty keen to jump on it. 55 million, it's probably, we set a price and they matched it. I think we were never going to outprice Martinez to the English clubs, and therefore they jumped on it. So I accepted the fact, a couple of weeks ago when it was being discussed back then that he was going to go. He had an outstanding season last year, and of course that exposes yourself to the bigger clubs, and interest was there. So look, I accepted it. I think that the bigger problem we're going to have is filling his shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about that in a minute. Sahbi, I want to go to you. We jumped into the space yesterday, last minute, on Twitter, and we talked a little bit about this whole thing. Now, a day later, do you have different opinions, or is it still the same? And if you have, please share it with us.
No, it's actually just the same. I'm quite sad and disappointed that we lost a hell of a player in our squad, one of the best, the player of the year. So, of course, the sadness and disappointedness, that's something that is still fresh, but I'm very, very happy for him. I mean, he always gave all of himself to the club, and this was his dream move. He wanted to go to the Premier League. He will go to United. So, yeah, he deserves this transfer, even though I would have loved to keep him at least for one more year. He had several years in his contract left. But yeah, it's a huge amount. I mean, 55 million, including bonuses. That's huge. I mean, even for Ajax, that's huge. So we got a profit for at least 700% minus the investment. So if you look at it, it's a great business. And I'm saying 700% because I know you're more economics, you're financially.
Yeah, don't start him with the we talk economics, bro. Please.
Exactly.
Don't trigger him.
I'll stop. But I mean, it's an offer Ajax couldn't refuse, and we can use this money to get a good replacement. Hopefully, we will talk about it later on.
Yeah.
And we can use this also for other transfers because there's still a lot of money left. And he put us on the map again. I mean, Martinez going to a huge club, one of the greatest clubs in the world, at least by name now at this moment. But hey, he's done well. I'm proud.
Yeah, those were quick maths, by the way. I'm impressed. Ajax, and I want to come to you as well regarding Lisandro Martinez, but at the same time, I want to drop a question to you from Ben Benemans. You know him very well, of course.
Yes.
Ben is not very happy, to be honest, and he's saying, why is everybody accepting that price? Isn't that too cheap for the quality player that Lisandro Martinez is? Are we not undervaluing him as a player? What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, in my opinion, as a fan, everything is too cheap at the moment. But in all fairness, 55 million euros for a player that we bought for 7 million, it's quite a good profit. I heard through the grapevines that it's almost 700%. So It's pretty good. But no, in all honesty, it's the third highest sell for Ajax in history, next to Frankie and De Ligt. 55 million is a huge amount of money. So especially for a defender that isn't the largest, we know what he can do, but a lot of clubs and fans of other clubs have doubts because you have to have some height in the Premier League. So for him, it might also be a unique move, because Ten Hag knows what his capabilities are and he knows how good he is. So it's maybe also a chance for him to really implement his style of football there because he knows what the coach is going to play there. Is it too cheap? Yeah, we might think it could be too cheap, but for me, I think it's a great value for the player he is. And 55 million is a lot of money. We cannot expect every time to hit a jackpot price like Frankie and De Ligt made for us, So could it be 60? Maybe. But does the club want to go that far? Do you want an unsettled player? I think all in all, 55 million is a huge amount of money. And I think we can, what Sahbi said, be proud that another of our players is going to a big competition again. Hopefully they get some more minutes. He gets some more minutes than Ziyech and Donny. Then I'm happy.
Yeah. Ben had another question. I will go to Rick for this one as well. It's related to the transfer of Martinez. We know by now that there are a couple of players being linked, with as a replacement for Lisandro. But before we go there, at the moment of the question that came in, we didn't know about these names as of yet. So I want to ask you the question regarding the current players that we have, because Ben is asking Rick, okay, so if Martinez leaves, we bought Wijndal, we know about that, he will play as a left back. And then it seems that we will play with Blind as the central defender, right? So he will take the spot from Martinez. Is this, and I quote, I think he said, is this suicide what we're doing in Champions League, or will we be okay with this? Can we manage with this back line? What do you think? What are your thoughts about that?
I don't think we'll be managing very well in the Champions League if Blind goes to centre back. He's just too slow. I don't know what Schreuder's going to do in terms of how the formation's going to be set. I think he's very much a straight 4-3-3. I envisioned him probably working with Alvarez more and maybe like a 4-2-3-1 type of situation. But again, we need the striker for that, and we don't really have that. Look, we can get away with it in the Eredivisie. I don't think we're going to get away with it in the Champions League. That's my thoughts on that.
Yes. Sahbi, there was another question that came in as well, which is related a little bit with the role of Blind, but also now that we got Wijndal on the left back. And the question was actually very interesting, a little bit tactic. But he said, what do you expect from Wijndal? Do you expect him to be a left back that will sit a little bit deep to compensate and help Alvarez and defensively? Or will he be more used as a fullback that overlaps and helps in the attack? Which one do you think he will do more?
I think in the Eredivisie, it's quite clear he will be a fullback who will be overlapping, assisting the attack, because that's basically his strength. He is attacking-wise, he's way better than defensive-wise. So he will be used. He's also known for his assists. He got a lot of assists with AZ. So it's his strongest asset. So Schreuder will definitely make use of that. When you look at the Champions League level, I do have to agree a bit with Rick. It's going to be very difficult. So in Champions League, my assumption would be that he will be assisting more Alvarez. Timber will also stick a bit behind. Not the same as last season where Martinez was a bit behind and Timber moved to the midfield or even further. I think the roles are going to change. Timber is going to stick a little bit behind, which is unfortunate, if I have to say so. Wijndal will not be that attacking, and Alvarez will cover a lot of space because all these players need to sacrifice their role solely for Blind, because he's a liability defensive wise. He's great in progressive passes, in the build-up. He can even move up to midfield. But then again, he will leave a lot of space in behind. And that's where Wijndal, with his speed, can recover a lot. So I think in the Champions League, it will change a bit. in comparison with Eredivisie.
Ajax, sticking to this specific topic, I want to add, because we're talking now about Alvarez. Alvarez just moved into the discussion, and I remember a couple of talks ago, you said that Alvarez is very underestimated. There were a lot of fan base saying, like, because we knew that Haller and Alvarez, there were news coming out that these two players could leave if a decent offer came in. So we were not asking a jackpot price for these two players. We still have Alvarez. How much more important does Alvarez get now, knowing that Martinez leaves?
He has been important for us for always, So he's the one keeping the balance. There's no other player like him in the squad at the moment. So he will be very important, and especially with Martinez leaving, because we drop in defensive quality. He will be very important to cover for that. Also with the Grinta, a little bit the poise in the play. If Tagliafico is gone, if Martinez is gone, he's one of the last ones left that we call the cartel, to do well for us in that area. So I think he's very important, and I would be very sad if I would see him leave also, because he was one of the players stated by the management, I think, that could leave alongside Haller. So I don't know if this changed because other players left now. But to get back also to the primary question, Juan, I disagree with both, actually. I do not think we are that bad that everybody is now saying, like we'll have problems in the Champions League and stuff. Let's be honest. We progressed with a flawless group stage, 6 wins, dominating, beautiful football, and then we went out against Benfica. So why could we not progress through the group stage this year, Of course, maybe we need another signing. The transfer window is still early, In my opinion, there are a few positions that could be strengthened. But even with Blind there, and I'm not the biggest fan, and I agree totally with Sahbi that he's a liability in certain areas, he played alongside De Ligt also, And they progressed quite well through also Europe. So why could he not also be implemented into the team, and maybe that we cover a little bit for him with Alvarez, with other players? He has certain qualities also, and Ajax is known for playing players in their qualities, Am I a biggest fan of Blind? No, but it would have been worse if Timber left. Think of the situation if Timber left and what we have as a backup for the right central defense position. It's way worse than we have for the left central defense position. Yes, Blind is not the strongest defensively, but he has a lot of other qualities. At the right central back position, you would have had Schuurs. So with maybe a few signings, I can see us going far in the Champions League still, going through the group stage. I would be disappointed if we would not make it through the group stage, even with this group, because I think we have immense quality. We have a great midfield still. We have a great attack still. So I think a lot of people are a little bit pessimistic, but you do not know what the draw is going to be. So it all depends on that also.
Sahbi, you want to react?
Yeah, I just want to say, I never said that we won't make it at all in the Champions League. I'm just stating that we need that the roles will change a bit in comparison with last season because of Blind playing in central defense. And last season he was playing as left back, which is, he played great, but it doesn't bring potential risk. More risk than if he would play in central defense. And with regards to the 18-19 era, we had Nico who was playing in left back, and as left back he wasn't going that deep very often. He helped a lot. And with Frankie de Jong running all over the pitch with Schöne in front of the defense, I think they had a lot. They also got used to having Blind at the back and helping him out. So I'm not that pessimistic, not at all, but I'm just saying that we need to change a bit to do well. Because if we play like we did last season, I think it's going to be a problem. I think it's going to be a problem. But Schreuder, knowing he will do something about this.
Yeah, with this,
like you said, Ajax.
Sorry.
Like you said, Ajax. The attacking qualities of Blind is there, and it's very apparent. But I think we are bound to be caught on the counter. And he's not very quick, and would then be expected Wandel to be covering him quite a lot, and that is my concern. But like I said, and you said, he's got great attacking qualities. He will always push the ball forward. But yeah, we just have to be wary of what happens on the counter against, great teams with very fast players.
What if just quickly, Ajax, what if I'm thinking, right? You guys are talking about Blind, and again, we haven't taken into account, and we'll talk about it in a minute, about the players that could come in, because Ajax is really, there are a lot of rumors that we're looking for a central defender, so that might be a solution. But going now with the situation in which, like Blind is the central defender, let's say this sticks, right? He will play that role. It's a big if, but let's say going into the Champions League, could we envision us playing a little deeper? Also, if you take into account that we lost Haller is very much tied to the penalty area of the opponent. Now we have Bergwijn. Now we have also, maybe if we get Brobbey. These are fast, pacey players. They need space. They're even more dangerous with a lot of space. Is that something that makes sense, or are you guys like, no, it won't change the tactic too much?
I think it does make sense, Juan. If you look at the possible striker coming in Brobbey, that has that room to run into and can actually play a little bit of combination football and not fall to the ground every duel like Haller almost did, but hold the ball and be strong. Or if you have the alternative in Tadic that plays as a false 9, he drops back also to play that combination football that others can pass him, and he's good at that. To play that kind of football, you have to drop deep a little bit, because you cannot play at the position that Haller did as like the final player almost in the 5-yard box, to do those tap-ins. So I think it makes sense what you're saying.
Yeah, Ajax. Yes, so that's one part. But the other reason I'm saying this as well is because then Blind can play a little bit deeper instead of being on the halfway line, standing there.
Yeah, but
that's what I'm trying to say as well.
The bridge, what I wanted to make after Rick's statement just now is your second question next to the primary one was, will Alvarez be even more important for us? Yes, I think so, because if you want to cover up for Blind, when he's doing that progressive kind of football, Wijndal and Alvarez should be wary that he's going forward and cover up for him in the defensive load. So Blind and Wijndal need to have this chemistry together. When one is going forward, the other stays deep a little bit more. And Alvarez is always the one keeping the balance. That if somebody goes forward, he's almost dropping as a third central defender, to keep the balance a bit and be wary for counterattacks that are coming. So those three, the combined, there should be some rules between them, what to do when somebody goes forward, especially Blind.
Yeah, and I want to ask you, Ajax, and I'm going to Rick for this one as well. Do you guys agree with Sahbi that Timber's role will be a little bit more, like sitting back and not going forward too much, because if Blind is playing next to him?
I have to wait and see, to be honest, because Timber also has the quality, and we saw it a few times last season, to make a dribble and to get forward a bit. And I think he wants to develop this part of his play also. So I can also see Timber making those runs, but it all has to do with the balance still. Then Blind has to drop to stay back a little bit more, and the others have to cover also, because there has to be balance in the back. So I'm not saying he will just solely be defensive this season. I do think that he will also get his chance to make that progressive play, because there will be teams that know that Blind is the one building up the play a lot, and a lot of teams just left him in free space at the left side. But they will, the strikers, they will narrow him down. And as soon as teams know that he is the only one building up, they will narrow him down. So immediately, Timber will be the free player next to him, So he should use his qualities also, so that we get a little bit more unpredictable. So I do think that he will do his building up part also.
No, I agree. But in that case, he will be pushed to do this. But if the choice is there whether he would dribble in or not, my take is that Blind will do that, because if Timber dribbles in, it will be a risk, especially counter-attacking wise. So I don't think Schreuder will take that risk. But I do agree with you. He will have some matches where he definitely go to dribble in. If the possibility is there, of course he will do it. But in general, I see Blind doing it more than Timber.
But how is it different than last season, Sahbi? Well, because Blind is our best building player. Blind is the best passer. So
exactly.
if you have the choice between the players that are free when building up, even when he was left back, you would always choose for Blind because it would be stupid not putting him in his strength. So I do not see how it would be different, the role for him.
Because he's in a different position. At left back, it's quite different than you have two center backs. No, but but then you have Martinez, who was defending the wall while Timber could move up. Martinez was the one who was like keeping the balance at the back. He had that speed, so every counterattack that would come up, he would be able to recover if needed. But in this case, if Timber moves up, you can't put the responsibility on Blind to recover the ball during counterattacks. That would be a huge risk. That's what I'm trying to say in this situation.
I think what this actually proves is how important Alvarez is. Regardless if it's going to be Blind or Timber, he's going to be the one that tracks back while the other two either make the passing play or run forward.
Yeah.
He's the one that's going to be triangling back to either the left or the right side to cover that play. His role is going to be the most important coming up to this season, I think.
Is there any other player that can take over Alvarez's role in your view? Because some Ajax fans, you're laughing, I'm serious. Some Ajax fans are questioning maybe you can play Taylor there or another player that can take over eventually that role as well, but you will have more football also on the midfield. What do you have to say about that, Rick?
Look, Alvarez has those defensive qualities, and he's not quite Frankie. He doesn't go, but he can track back. His original role was defensive, and he came in as a defender. We've evolved him into a defensive midfielder, and he can cater those two. He doesn't go forward too often, except on set plays. Now, Kenneth Taylor, he's quite more attacking based, so we'd have to evolve him into becoming a defensive midfielder and a box-to-box type player to actually cater for that role. Now, it may take a little bit of time, and Taylor's probably the prime target for this, but it would take some time.
All right. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I just want to say that I see Taylor as having the same profile, almost the same profile as Lasse Schöne. He has that great cross passes, those huge, those long cross passes, which Schöne had as well. He could open the play, and Taylor has that the same. Last season, we saw that with passes to Brobbey from the back, all the way from the back. He could do that, but defensively, he needs to learn a bit more. Just like Gravenberch had to learn that as well. Taylor needs to develop that as well in order to compete with the position of Alvarez.
But it's possible to you.
It's possible. It's definitely possible, but he's not ready for that right now. Probably that's the reason why he put Regeer at that position for several games.
In the preseason, yeah.
Yeah, maybe he sees him as a potential replacement.
Ajax, you want to react?
I disagree. I do not see Taylor as a substitute for Alvarez, to be honest.
Okay.
Yes, Frankie. Yes, Lasse was kind of a unique player there, but Lasse had Frankie beside him, so the chemistry between those both and the unique quality that Frankie brought to the table allowed us to play a different kind of player at that position. And I cannot see Taylor doing the stuff that Alvarez does, because what Alvarez is lacking in attacking quality, Taylor is lacking in defensive quality. The only one within the team that comes close to what he could do, in my opinion, was actually Martinez, and I've stated that before. But Martinez is leaving now. So I see not another player within the squad that will have the same skill set that Alvarez has for us and the balance he brings. So yes, you can play a Taylor in that kind of position, but you have to have a player next to him that can do it all, like Frankie. And we do not have that. So I see him more as a substitute for Gravenberch at the moment. He has to learn some stuff also. Then I see him doing Alvarez's job.
No, he is a replacement of Gravenberch, but I'm just saying he can do the defensive midfield role as well. I mean, you can play there as a footballer. Just as I said in the last talks, you don't have to be really defensive minded as long as you have that football intelligence, as long as you can step up in those passing lines of the opponent. You have that stamina, you have that pace. you can do it. I mean, that's quite logical. But is he there yet? No, I agree that he isn't there yet. But he can take over that role eventually if he focuses on the position.
Yeah, but that's a lot of ifs and buts. He can take over the
Yeah,
left back or the right back position also if he focuses on that position.
No, but he has those.
It's not his natural position. So why invest in a position that you're not the greatest at instead of playing you in the role that you do know? I cannot see him being turned into a defensive machine. He lacks the physicality that Alvarez has. He lacks also, in my opinion, the ability to head the ball well like Alvarez does, because he's not that strong in the air that Alvarez is. So how would you learn him those things? How would you transform that for him?
I mean, you said the roles. I mean, last season, everybody was happy that Berghuis played in number 8 role. Everybody was happy that Gravenberch played in a defensive midfield role. Everybody was happy because, I mean, of course, it's not his real position, but that doesn't mean he can be good at it. He's a baller. He can do it. He probably can do it. And it doesn't mean you have to have that Grinta, especially in that position. As long as you can read the play, as long as you can read those passing lines of the opponent. I mean, Pirlo did it. I'm not saying he is a Pirlo. I'm not saying he is a Sherino. I'm just saying he can develop into that position, not by saying that he can do it right now. That's my take.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Let's move on.
I just don't see it like that. Sorry.
Talking about this, right? About probably Taylor coming there, and we looked at Gravenberch, who also sometimes took over the role of Alvarez. Rick, I want to go with you on this one. It was mentioned just now, the Grinta. We know that Martinez is leaving. He had that poise, he had that fighting mentality. It's gone. We know Tagliafico is on the verge of leaving this summer, so we expect him to leave as well. So basically, from the set, of cartel that was mentioned, we are only left with Alvarez. How important is it? I mean, do we underestimate this or do we overestimate the Grinta, and do we need this in this team, especially if we go in Europe? What's your view?
I haven't actually seen too much of him, so I don't really know a lot. All I know is that the connections going forward and how Schreuder is going to play the team, it will underline how important Alvarez is. Now, who we have sitting with him and playing in that position is going to determine, I guess, how forward playing that we end up going. If we had someone like, that plays like Gravenberch, we can go forward. If we stick someone a bit more defensive, then you may end up sticking Blind in there if you need to. If we have another centre back, you could probably stick Blind in there. But like in terms of the Grinta, I don't know. I haven't actually seen enough of him due to access of getting the young Ajax games and things like that. But the opportunities are there for new players. That's pretty much what I can view from it. We don't get another centre back. Look, he may be the option.
Yeah, what do you guys think, Ajax? What do you think of the Grinta?
Yeah, I told it before. He's the last one left, and I do think that we're Ajax, and we like to play attractive football, and we have usually a lot of ballers within the squad. What Sahbi was also mentioning in Taylor, in an ideal world, yes, players like that can play that role, but especially in how football has evolved last years, last decades, you need somebody also with a different kind of skill set. And especially within our team, with a lot of ballers, with a lot of players playing football, you have to have somebody with that Grinta. So if Alvarez isn't there anymore, we lose Tagliafico, we lose Martinez. You have to have that poise, somebody that sets the team straight when necessary. You heard Timber talk about it with Martinez. Yeah, sometimes I get a little bit complacent, and then he just scolded me, and then I'm there again, Same with Alvarez. He can be that one that just turns it around within a match, like Martinez also did, or Tagliafico sometimes did, with a harsh foul, getting the team back on track. Like, no, we're not putting ourselves to sleep. We're going for it, and I'm going to take the lead in this. Yeah, you do have to have that quality also within your team, and I'm a little bit afraid if Alvarez leaves, and the same with Martinez, we do not have like a sufficient backup to play those kind of roles. And ideally, you want to have beautiful footballers in every position, but that is not how it works. You have to have a breaker, you have to have a defender also to keep the balance. And I do not know if Alvarez isn't there anymore. We would have almost no Grinta left, so it would be very difficult.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm moving on to the next question, next topic, basically, because we know that there are a couple of central defenders being linked with Ajax now. That it's funny though. Once we heard about Martinez leaving, all the rumors came like quickly, following each other. There were a couple of names. Most recently, a player, a central defender from Rangers, Brassi, I think. Just want to ask you guys, did you guys have a chance to look at those players, maybe compilations? I mean, I don't know these players personally. I haven't seen them play live. But did you guys maybe read up or saw something? Do you have any opinions about these transfer targets? Just quickly, Sahbi?
Yeah, I mean, I reviewed some big summaries, games of Medina as well as of Matvienko, Ukrainian player, and Medina, the Argentinian playing in France. And I asked a Nigerian colleague of mine when he heard about Kingsley Besic. I thought, hey, let me ask him what kind of player he is, and he gave me some good insights. So starting with Besic, if I may,
Yeah, sure.
he told me that he's a player. He found it really odd that that Ike's interested in him because he's a left back. He plays in the Nigerian team, the national squad, as a left back. For the Rangers, he played as left back as well the whole season, and so he found it a bit odd. But he also mentioned that he's a versatile player. He can play as left back, also as a central defender, and even as a central defensive midfielder. That's also one of his roles where he could be good at. He's physically very strong and also very good in aerial duels, which we lacked a bit if you looked at last season's.
In the back line, yeah.
In the back line, people complaining that they were too short. So he has, as a left back, he has very great crosses. When he gives crosses to the attackers, he has lovely passes. But yeah, do we need him as a left back? That's the question. We just got Vandal, so yeah.
I would assume, but look, Sahbi, I would assume that if he's a target, he's seen as a replacement for Martinez, right?
Exactly. So, but maybe they want him because he's versatile. They can use him as a central defensive midfielder, as a left back eventually, or as a central defender. But he told me that man marking is one of his strongest points. He's very good in one-on-one situations, but he is quite weak, or at least he needs to develop in that zonal marking. And since Ajax not always plays man-on-man, but sometimes also zonal, it can be an issue, but that's what he told me with regards to Besic.
Okay. Ajax, I want to go with you with the other target, the Ukrainian from Shakhtar Donetsk, Matvienko. Did you have any chance to look at something or read up on him?
I'm gonna be honest with you, Juan. I have difficulties giving my opinion on players that I do not know that well. So I'm a little bit hesitant usually to just say something if I'm not an expert in it. So the only thing I did was look up some compilations, and with all players all over the world, you can make. I think if we kick a football for a few hours, then even from us, we can make a decent compilation. So I don't know how much value that has, but based on the compilation that I saw of Matvienko, that also Arsenal, I believe, is interested in, he has a great long ball. I saw him in those compilations giving long ball after long ball after long ball, like crossing towards the wingers, and it's quite good at it. So if you want somebody with a long ball distribution to actually skip our passing play that we are known for, he's your guy. And he seems like a good tackler, and also I saw him mark very tightly in all the duels. So he's always right on the one he's like marking, at least what I saw, or maybe that are maybe some highlights that I saw with the compilation. But this is what I saw, and I think he is the least attractive player of the three, if you ask me.
Why?
So I do not see a real Ajax player in him, to be honest. So I was more charmed by Medina and with Besic. than I was with looking at Matvienko, what I saw on YouTube. But again, you know, I'm not an expert. I do not know if you watch Shakhtar a lot or the other guys watch Shakhtar a lot, but I'm not a fan of Shakhtar, so I do not know what to say else than this.
Yeah, is it, by the way, is it Calvin Bessie? Bessie? It's,
Yeah,
Calvin Bessie, yeah.
mispronounced it earlier. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have any opinion about this, Rick? I mean, these 3 targets. We haven't touched upon Medina from Lens, which is an Argentinian as well, play as a center back. Anything from your perspective? It's hard. I know we don't watch these games, but
no. I mean, I've seen a couple of games with Bassi in it, watching the Firm Derby in the Scottish League. Look, he plays as a left back, but he played mainly and was brought in by the Steven Gerrard.
Oh, Steven Gerrard.
Yeah. So Broncos managed him last year, but he was brought in by Gerrard, and I think before then that's when he was playing centre back. But when Broncos had changed the style of play that Rangers have been playing, and he's been playing pretty well as a left back there. What he can do for us, look, I'm not sure. Like he's a taller defender. He's built pretty solid. So he can be kind of like the overseer or the hard man in the defensive line, because we've lost Martinez in that aspect. But look, attacking wise, he's very versatile. So he can kind of play our game if he needs to. Learning from Van Bronckhorst probably increases his versatility there. But look, I'm not sure if the price is £25 million is quite a lot for someone in the central defensive position. I'm not sure we're prepared to pay that.
Yeah, the reason also for that is being he's also qualified as a homegrown player, so that makes him even more expensive, as you know. Brighton is interested, we know. I wanted to touch upon Medina. I don't know, did anyone, maybe Sahbi, did you have a look at him? Maybe you can tell us a little bit, or to the viewers, what your opinion is about him.
Yeah, definitely. If I have to compare these 3 players, I'm really fond of Medina. Just to say that up front. He's a player.
Just a minute, by the way. According to the reports, he's the cheapest option. So,
which is quite strange, but but it's still my opinion. Now he's a player who has the same temperament as Lisandro Martinez. He has that grinta and the good technique, just as Martinez has. So that's why I think really great of him. He has that left foot, also very great. The passing range of him is excellent. He is strong in his progressive passing, just as Martinez does, and he's so comfortable on the ball. That's basically the thing in comparison with Matvienko, if I have to say so. He presses his opponents just like Martinez does, so he doesn't wait. Unlike Matvienko, from what I've seen, is he waits a bit and waits for an error of the attacker and then goes into it, whilst Medina is like going into it because he has that speed to recover if he doesn't do that well. And that's also one of his weak points, because he can be very over-aggressive with his tackles. And that could and that reminds me of Tagliafico, like going in like crazy. He does that sometimes. But yeah, another weak point is he plays in a 3-man defense at Lens. So I don't know how he will cope in a 4-player defense where he would be the central defender, because he goes a bit more to the left in a 3-man defense. So you could see him as a half left back, half center back. So could he cope? I don't know. But the way he plays reminds me of Martinez, that grinta, that left foot, those crosses, the way he defends, aerial duels. He's not that great at. So that's a real weakness. But Blind has it as well. So to mention that. But all in all, if I have to compare Medina with Matvienko and Bessie, I would put Medina top, then Bessie, and then Matvienko.
Do you guys agree, based on what you guys read or saw?
Yeah, I do agree that Medina looked very well at the footage I saw, and he's quite tall also. He's taller than Martinez is, because I looked it up. Matvienko is 182, Medina is 184, and Besic is 185. So it's a lot taller than Martinez is, all three of them. But what I saw in the videos and what surprised me with his 184, it doesn't seem that he's that comfortable in heading the ball and winning those duels, because I saw him push his opponent a lot and then head the ball, so making room for himself. But I saw less duels that they both went up and that he actually wins by heading the ball. It's more like tactically positioning himself, playing a little bit dirty, creating that space for himself. And that worries me a bit, because with that height, for a footballer, 184 is quite decent. So you should be able to also naturally win those duels. And to be honest, I think Besic will be better in at that area of the play.
He is.
I had also what I saw from Besic, it was also pretty great footage. But also a lot as a left back, like Sahbi said. But for me, the one thing I want to add to Medina still, Juan, is I also saw him positioning himself well during the play. So he reads the play quite well and intercepts and reacts to what is needed within the pitch. And this is something that I didn't see with Matvienko and Besic as much as I did with Medina. So it's a tie a bit for me between Besic and Medina. But Medina maybe will get the upper hand for me because he's cheaper and he brings that Grinta. So, but for me, Matvienko is a no-go, to be honest.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, we talked about the players, right? Possible replacement based on the rumors that came in, et cetera, et cetera. I want to ask you guys something, and we talked about it yesterday. I posed this question also on the Twitter space, but I want to mention it again. And Rick, you can go first. We have 6 weeks left, right, till the transfer window closes. And the message has been, looking at Mazraoui leaving, and Gravenberch leaving, Haller leaving, now Martinez leaving, and we know that Tagliafico can leave still. We're being cut, basically. A lot of first-team players or semi-first-team players are leaving. Ajax wants a competitive team, of course. We want to be competitive next year, also in Europe. How much faith do you have that nobody else will leave from the first team? Like if you look at Anthony, for instance. What's your opinion on that?
Well, look, I don't have a lot of faith that Anthony will stay. I mean, it will take a lot, I think, to convince. I think his agents are pleading with Ajax to listen to offers. The rest of the squad, I think, apart from Tagliafico, who's pretty much been given an open path to leave, we'll stay. How competitive we will be will depend on who we can bring in and how competitive we are before the Champions League kind of kicks off, and how the squad gels and whatnot. There's opportunities there. Look, I'm pretty concerned with the striker position. I know that Ajax mentioned before about putting Tadic in, and we've got Bergwijn, but they're really not out and out strikers. So we really do need Robbie or someone in a Robbie mode to do that for us. But look, I mean, we can be competitive. Don't be worried about that. We will be competitive. It's just how far our goals are, especially in the Champions League. We want to be. We're pot one, so we should be the top team going through. But look, yeah, I do have some concerns, but I still have a lot of faith.
Sahbi, what's your view on this? And the reason also taking into account, if we cut so many players, so many first-team players leaving, we know from experience that we need time before those new players or new positions start gelling in. And don't forget, we have a new coach as well.
True, very true. I mean, just as you mentioned, everybody's for sale. As Huttela said, everybody's for sale. The reason why Anthony is for sale is because they put in a huge transfer fee, and naming such a high transfer fee would mean like it would be an offer they can't refuse. So if 80 million comes in or 75 million, Ajax would be crazy to decline that. I mean, I would assume that as well.
You said yesterday, by the way, that you don't think United will come back because they paid already a lot for Martinez, but maybe Chelsea.
Exactly. Yeah, I've read that Chelsea is now interested in Leao from Milan, from AC Milan. But AC Milan, knowing and hearing the news, they want to extend their contract, and he is willing to stay. So I don't think that will move forward. They will need a winger, and there aren't a lot of wingers available, good wingers available. So I'm afraid they might go for Anthony eventually. And will they pay up the price? It could be possible as well, because they offered a lot for Rafinha, somewhere in the 70 million area. So they have a new owner. They want to play for the prices. They got Sterling, etc., etc. So they could really move on for an offer for him. So let's hope that would not be the case. But I'm still afraid he could leave. So and that would be the only player that might leave. The strange thing, by the way, is I read today that Schuurs has been told that he's not allowed to leave, which is very strange because of all the players in the squad. Why choosing him to stay and not others?
But we don't have a backup, Sahbi.
Yeah, but you get a backup. I mean, we sold Martinez for 55 million.
Yeah, but that's hard. That's hard. You know that. If you're gonna get a player from outside, if it's not a young player, look, if it's a young player, he has to get used to the team. If it's not a young player, you're getting another player. He's not coming to the second tier bench.
Exactly. But Schuurs is not a first team player, so eventually he will have the time to blend in. Because I'm not so fond of Schuurs. He's an okay player. He's good for the bench, but he's not good enough to be a starter. So you could buy a great talent, because in our academy there are no great talents in defense. I can tell you that there are more than enough in midfield, etc. But in defense there aren't any. So eventually you need to buy someone.
Yeah. So you would cash in on Schuurs and get somebody else who will be prepped for if Timber leaves next year.
Exactly. That's what I would do. But we also needed a left central defender. That's obvious. We will need a striker. I do agree with Rick. We need a type of Brobbey. I really hope Brobbey gets in, but it will take time, and hopefully they will stick with him and lower and Leipzig will accept a lower price. But I'm also not fond of our right back position. I think that's one of our weakest spots. Because we are really relying on Rensch to get to his to his 2 years to his fitness what he had 2 years ago, to his form of 2 years ago. I think that's a huge risk. I really hope he gets to that form. He regains that form again, but he needs another player at least to compete.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question, because actually Sahbi is moving to a question that we received from Mace on Twitter. And he was asking basically, so Martinez leaving, we're getting a central defender. Which other positions do you think we should strengthen? Which are the positions? And Sahbi already touched upon it, so I want to give it to you. The only thing I would say to Sahbi is that I have a feeling, but maybe you guys can react on it as well. I have a feeling that Schreuder will wait, also based on his first interview. He will wait with the preseason, look how Rensch is performing, or how the guys are performing, maybe Regeer or something, I don't know. And then at the end, I think at the last moment, they will decide whether they will get a right back, yes or no. That's my feeling.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah? All right. So your point of view on, if you were sitting together with, the guys, the director of footballs at Ajax, which position would you say, okay, guys, we need to get players here?
First of all, central defender. Ideally, you guys are maybe going to laugh. Ideally, 2. Why? I'm not looking at this question solely as what do we need now, but I'm also looking at this question: what players will probably leave us next season. So we should already prepare maybe young talents or other players that need to adapt for 6 months or maybe a year to our style of football to be ready when those players leave. And I do think that Timber will leave us next season, to be honest. He's staying this year probably, he's leaving next. So we need a central defender already, but we also need some proper backup. And I do not have faith in Magallan and Schuurs, and Blind is a liability in certain areas also.
Piri, don't forget Piri,
and don't forget Sean Kleiber, because everybody's only talking about Rensch. But so the central defender position, I would get another right back. If I'm being honest, I would get another central midfielder, a central defensive midfielder, so somebody that can cover for Alvarez, because we do not have it, or if he leaves, that you have a substitute ready. And the position of Anthony, I think we can cover that within the team if necessary. So I do not see a big problem there if he leaves. Of course, the quality that will leave us is immense, but we still have Ihatara that can play it his way. Even Bergwijn could play there. We still have Berghuis that could play there. He did it at Feyenoord, although in a different kind of style. But we have some players that can fill in that position. But I would definitely get a striker. So those 4 positions, 2 primary ones now, or 3 primary ones now, are the defender, a central defender, the right back position, and the striker. I think we need them either way. But ideally, if you have the money and you would have the room within the squad, ideally it would be smart to also start thinking about a substitute for Timber and a substitute for Alvarez for next season, because I think both will be leaving after a year, for sure.
Yeah. So basically, you agree with Sahbi in the sense that if it was up to you, you would sell Schuurs, because maybe Ajax is thinking the way you're thinking, but differently. They're thinking, if Schuurs stays another year, Timber will leave. Maybe they will tell him this, and he will be prepped for next year.
Yeah, but Juan, I know you have to ask this question, but Schuurs, he's always great within the preseason. You know, I made a joke about this way back, that he's like a Super Saiyan in the preseason, and a little kid.
Some people say he's Prime Maldini.
He's what?
Prime Maldini. Preseason.
Yeah. But seriously, I do not. You have to cut your losses sometimes. Also, I do not see it in him, to be honest. I do not see it in him, and he's been with us for how many seasons now? 3, 4. He's been there a long time already, and he still wasn't able to convince any trainer in Ten Hag or other trainers that he should play. He played a little bit alongside Blind that period, and that was the worst central defensive duo I saw in years. I do not want to see that again. So for me, just cut your losses. The same with probably Kleiber, but I have to give him a chance still. He got injured. He didn't play a lot. I was not a fan of him being brought in for that amount, but still, you should give a player a fair chance. Maybe good old Sean will surprise us, but I do not think that chance is very little. But I would sell Magallan, I would sell Schuurs, I would sell Kleiber if the right amount would come in, and get proper substitute players, like I said before, and get them ready to be substitute when the big players leave. And instead of having that much players within a team that you're not that confident about.
Yeah, I agree. I understand what you're saying. Just one question though I had. You're blaming Schuurs, just to be clear. You're blaming Schuurs. He's been here for a couple of years. He had a chance for half a year. But isn't it also a matter of Timber is just better? You know, Timber is not a benchmark. He's one of the outstanding central defenders.
Yeah, but maybe that is our benchmark, because he's not better than De Ligt is when he left. He's not better than Timber. Even Blind, I'm more fond of than I am of Schuurs. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not blaming Schuurs for everything. I think he's a nice guy, and this is also exactly the problem with him. I think he's too nice of a guy to be a tough defender that is necessary sometimes. I just do not see it in him. It's the same story with Scherpe, the goalkeeper. I didn't see it in him either, It is better for them to move on, and he would do well maybe at a lower tier side in the Premier League or maybe in the second division, because that's more of the kind of football that he's maybe suited for, not the Ajax style, to be honest.
And it's not even cutting losses. I mean, he could be even sold for profit.
Yeah,
most likely.
Absolutely.
Look at Botman. Botman was valued even lower than him. We offloaded Botman and we kept Schuurs. Yeah. So if Botman can make it at Lille and then he goes now to, what was it? Newcastle, I believe. Was it?
Yeah.
West Ham? Newcastle. Yeah. Why can Schuurs not do it similarly, at a different team? I just do not see it at our club. And nothing against Schuurs, lovely guy, but not my favorite player.
Rick, just to wrap up everything that we discussed so far, also what Ajax just said, any final thoughts you want to say or things you want to mention still?
I just want to follow on from Ajax regarding Skurs. Look, he was supposed to be touted as the Delip replacement,
Yeah.
and it just didn't happen, right? So he had his chance the season that Delip left, and he got given as many opportunities that season and it just didn't work. And Ten Hag had to change the back line because we were just shipping goals like anything, and those two are too slow and have a turning circle like an elephant. So, but we couldn't play the way we wanted to play because they just didn't work for us. So yes, Skurs has to go. I actually read that before that he wasn't allowed to leave, and I was flabbergasted, to be fair. Yeah, look, I agree with Ajax, you know, like and Sahbi. Right back, we just have to see how Wrench goes. We need to test him in you know, the tougher preseason games and give him a proper go. But obviously, you know, Kleiber's there. Is he going to, you know, do something this season? Like he's been injured, you know, the last season and a half. So how ready is he to jump back in and play? I'm not sure. So he may be, you know, like the 70-minute sub for Wrench, depending on how much work Wrench gets done. But yeah, I'm very concerned about the striker position. That is my major concern. The centre backs, yeah, well, I'm pretty sure we're going to be moving forward with a centre back at some point this window. But if we don't do something with the striker, yeah, look, that could really change our game a bit, I think.
No, but we will get that striker, that's for sure. Whether it's Broby, that's the question. But we will get that striker.